an observation of the country, the region, and America's involvement therein. Three of our distinguished speakers are also authors of very recent books on the subject at hand, and we have copies of these books available for purchase and author signatures here tonight. I encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to pick out some very good gifts for the readers on your list this year. Robert Litwak has written Regime Change, U.S. Strategy for the Prism of 9/11, a detailed examination of the Bush administration's embrace of unilateralism, reaction, and regime change, and the foreign policy consequences that have followed. Parsi is the author of Treacherous Alliance, the secret dealings of Israel, Iran, and the U.S. This volume traces the shifting relations between Israel, Iran, and the United States from 1948 onward, and the effects of those relationships on U.S. foreign policy initiatives in the region. And finally, but last but not least, Barbara Slavin has just published Bitter Friends, Bosom Enemies, Iran, the U.S., and the Twisted Path to Confrontation. Based on years of experience reporting on the Middle East as USA Today's senior diplomatic correspondent, Barbara sorts out the love-hate relationship between the United States and Iran. Currently it appears in its hate mode. Our moderator and more this evening is Ambassador John Limbert, currently Professor of Political Science at the United States Naval Academy and former President of the American Foreign Service Association. Ambassador Limbert served as ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Mauritania from 2000 until 2003, a career Foreign Service officer since 1973. His overseas assignments included tours in Algeria, Djibouti, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Guinea, Sudan, and the UAE. In 1979, he was one of the 66 Americans taken hostage by the Iranians and held for 14 months before release. Prior to joining the Foreign Service, he taught in Iran both as a Peace Corps volunteer and as a faculty member at Litwak University. He holds a BA, an MA, and a PhD from Harvard, the latter degree in History and Middle Eastern Studies. He is fluent in Parsi, Arabic, and French, and is the author of Iran and War with History and Shiraz in the Age of Hafiz, the glory of the medieval Persian city. We are indeed privileged to have you here to join us this evening. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Limbert to our presence.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Looking around the audience, I'm pleased to see that most of you, although not my fellow panel members, I think, but most of you will understand if I make a reference to the old-time radio show, The Shadow. You remember it? And you'll remember that the hero was someone named Lamont Cranston. And Lamont Cranston, they said somewhere in the East, had acquired the power to cloud men's minds. Now, they didn't say where in the East that was, but I would wager a lot of money that was somewhere up on the Iranian plateau. Because, for some reason, and I have been dealing with things Iranian now for probably over 42 years. But for reasons I still don't exactly understand, Iran seems to have that power to cloud men's minds. And unlike Lamont Cranston's power, it's geographically specific. And it seems to increase exponentially as you get inside Route 495. Now, there's a lot today, I'm afraid, that needs unclouding. Look at the situation between the U.S. And Iran today. For 28 years, we have traded insults, we have traded accusations, we have called each other names like Great Satan and World Arrogance and Rogue State and Axis of Evil. We have imposed new sanctions. We have thought of new ways to ridicule and insult each other. What has that accomplished? That road, frankly, has led nowhere. We still continue, but nothing essentially has changed. It's a very unproductive road. And again, nothing has changed in that relationship. It's as bad today, if not worse, than it was 28 years ago. Two events have cast their shadow over this relationship, and neither side seems to appreciate the symbolic importance of that event. One is the coup of 1953, the CIA-sponsored coup that brought down Premier Mossadegh. The second was the capture and holding of me and my colleagues in 1979. And these events shape the way we look at each other. Recently, I was on a program, a Voice of America program, and somebody called in and said, "Oh, the hostage crisis 1979, you Americans, you should get over that." And I said, "Okay, well, what about the coup of 1953?" He said, "Never." Never. But as a result of these things, and events that follow, we see each other through very warped lenses. And we demonize each other into the image of absolute evil. In the U.S., the Islamic Republic is written off as a group of fanatics, terrorists, mad mullahs, Holocaust deniers. I recently heard someone compare Iran today to Nazi Germany in 1938. The U.S., seen from the Iranian side, is written off as the great Satan, as world arrogance, is looking for a pretext to attack Iran, and is determined to reverse the Iranian revolution, to overthrow the regime by force if necessary. Now tonight, we have the honor of hearing from three scholars who will help us in the vital task of unclouding the mind. All have looked at the Iranian-American issue with clear eyes, lucid judgment, and all three have published their findings in outstanding work of scholarship, which should be required reading for all policymakers. Let me just take a quick quote out of one of these. I could have done any of the works, but I chose Barbara Slavin's, a passage from Barbara Slavin's work, Bitter Friends, Bosom Enemies. She says, outside and inside the Iranian regime, there is tremendous ambivalence about America. No other country is so fixated on the United States. No other foreign government so aspires to and fears a U.S. embrace. And no other nation has provoked such a complicated response in return. Iran has been dubbed the Bermuda Triangle of American diplomacy for swallowing up good faith U.S. efforts to end the hostility. A lot of wisdom there. And dip into Dr. Parsi's book, Dr. Litwak's book, you're going to find a lot of wisdom. So first tonight, I'll introduce, I should say one thing, I'm sorry, in the interest of full disclosure, as I mentioned, my own ties to Iran go back about 42 years, as a teacher, as a researcher, as a student, as a member of a wonderful extended Iranian family, and as a diplomat for about 10 and a half weeks. Also, although the book is not on sale, because my heart, I should say, my heart is really in the 14th century. This is my book on Shiraz in the Age of Hafiz, a time of violence, religious fanaticism,